Hi. Okay, this is the second part of lesson one about who you are, where you came from, where we are today, and where we're ultimately going to end up if we don't change. Okay, so where I left off on the other video was discussing the witches and the Salem witches, to be exact, and that's just an example of many gifted people that are gifted because God is their father, literally. So, anyway, so here we go. All right. You've heard of the Salem witches, right? And if you talk to the priests and you talk to pastors and things, and even if you read in the Bible, keep in mind that the Bible has clips, parts of things that's in the Bible. It's not complete. So when you read a passage and like a chapter and a verse, you get so many verses, but then you kind of get left hanging, right? So it goes like this. The reason that the priest and the pastor say that it's demonic and it's evil to be a witch and that it's something from Satan, the reason they say that is because actually the sons of God, which were Lucifer and the other angels, when they came to the earth, they taught the art of war, alchemy, astrology, and witchcraft back in BC, in the very beginning, in the first earth age with Genesis. Okay, that's why they say that it's evil and it's demonic. But actually, the truth is exactly this. It's not witchcraft. It's because you are sons and daughters of God, and God had some really amazing abilities. So, of course, you're going to inherit the same abilities because you have God's genetics. So there you go. There's your truth. And then if you mix a little of that angel blood in there, remember, because the angels came to the earth and took human women and they had hybrid children, which were the Nephilim, you got a little more oomph in there, right? So there you go again. And the reason not everybody can use their abilities is because society and government and the churches, they have kept us all smothered and ignorant about who we are, what we are, right? So anyway, so knowing all this, you know about the Salem witches. Well, the churches had to get rid of the witches, and I'll tell you why. Because it was actually the witches back in BC, which was before Christ. And they weren't witches. They were just people, just human beings that had the genetics of God, and some of the human beings that had genetics from God and the angels, right? The Nephilim, those people. And then it got mixed up with more humans. You know how it is. Just like today where we mix races. Afro-American and Caucasian, Afro-American and Mexican, same thing, right? So, basically the same thing anyway. So, knowing all this, the churches convinced everybody that witches were demonic and they were evil and this was behavior from Satan. Well, it was. That's true. Because Lucifer and the other fallen angels came to the earth and they taught the art of alchemy, the art of war, the art of witchcraft, and astrology. They taught that on the earth. So that's why the priests and the pastors and everybody say that it's evil, it's demonic, because Lucifer and the other angels, the other fallen angels, taught it on the earth when they were here. Walking the earth with us and marrying us and all that kind of thing. So actually, witches, as they call them, they're not evil. They're not. We all have abilities. All of us. Because we're God's children. And some of us have a little extra oomph because we have angel blood mixed in with God's blood. Right? God did not wipe it all out. So when he flooded the earth. And that was because Noah's sons took wives. So there you go, folks. That should really kind of go, wow, this is kind of wild, So that's what the truth is. And the reason that it's evil and demonic is because Lucifer and them taught it. That's the truth. So, but Now, let me tell you some more truth. And you just think about it for yourself. Use logic, okay? Back in BC and the beginning, the fallen angels came to the earth and they taught witchcraft and so on and so forth, right? So the human women learned those abilities. They learned those techniques. They learned how to use herbs and things to make medicines and, and to use them in energy, because everybody and everything is organic and it's energy based, right? So we're talking atoms and so on and so forth. So, so knowing all that, right? If you look at the priests and what they do when they do an exorcism or a blessing or a cleansing, look at the tools that they use. They use incense. They use blessed water, right? They do incantations, reading verses from the Bible, and they have other incantations that they use. And that's how they cleanse a house. That's how they bless a house, right? Then, you've also got exorcisms. They drive out demons. Well, you know what they're really doing? Lucifer and the other angels mix DNA and genetics, right? They're also telepathic, just so you're aware. So when these priests go in and they're trying to take and help a person that they say is possessed, right? What's really happening is the fallen angels, they're using telepathic abilities to influence your brain. That's what they're doing. I know it sounds kind of wild and it's kind of like science fiction, but it's true. Because if you read in the Bible, it says that the guardian angels speak to us telepathically. So it's not so far-fetched, right? So that's how they influence us. If they get in there and keep messing with our head and changing our thought patterns, yeah, we're going to change. We're going to be possessed, as they call it.
New messages received from Alex's new cell.
So anyway, so these priests, they go in and they do their little hoodoo voodoo, right? And, and please don't think that I don't believe in God and that I'm not a Christian, because I'm absolutely 150% Christian, just so you know, and I seriously believe in God, because I'm here talking to you about what has gone on through history. Okay. And, but that's what priests do, and pastors. Pastors will pray for you and bind your powers. How do I know that? Because I've seen them do it. And I'm talking bona fide, scholared, pastors, and priests. I've been there, seen it, So anyway, but if you talk to a priest, they will say that the witches stole, the witches stole those, tools, those abilities, that the priests use. That what they do is ordained by God and comes from the Holy Spirit. But what witches do are evil and demonic. And the reason they say that is because it was Lucifer and the angels that taught it in the first earth age, back in BC. And another thing, the Catholic Church and the Protestant churches and things didn't begin, especially the Catholic Church, 50 days after Jesus died, which was in CE, right? So that's after Christ. So anyway, but the witches, as they call them, they were taught all their information in BC, which was before Christ. So who took the information? Who stole the tools? It wasn't the witches, as they call them. It was actually the priests and things. They wanted to control. They want to have the power. They don't want us to be who we are and us have our power. Same thing with the witches in Salem witches. In history, they were so afraid of them because they couldn't control them. And they were so afraid the truth was going to get out that they convinced the people to kill them, to burn them. And there are people in churches and stuff, even now, that belong to Catholic churches and stuff, and they kill people that have abilities. They murder them. the ones that really have strong abilities, they take them out of the race. They kill them. That's the truth. Because there's a monk. Now he's a monk, right? And he got out because his job was to target gifted human beings. And I mean gifted human beings from a paranormal standpoint. We all have the abilities. We all have the gifts. It just depends on what gifts we inherited. Doctors, right? Scientists, musicians, artists, to name just a few. They have abilities too. That's why they can pick up an instrument and they take to it like water and they can use it. But they have other abilities too, but society has taught us that it's not normal, that it's wrong, and that it's not sane to think that way. So people over the centuries have not used their abilities. And that's the truth. Look it up for yourself. I did. All the way back to the beginning. I didn't join any witch groups. I didn't do any. I just researched. That's what I did. And I talked to the priests. And I talked to the scholars. And I talked to the students. That's how I know what I'm talking about today. That's how I can explain these things to you. So the facts are the facts. The churches wanted the power. They wanted the control. And this is how they're getting it. And the same thing with the government. If all of us was going around using our abilities, the government would have no control over any of us. None of us. That's pretty wild, isn't it? But true. Unfortunately, it's the truth. Or fortunately, that I'm telling you that it's the truth. And you say, oh yeah, that's just crazy, whatever. Just research it yourself. Go back to the book of Genesis. Go to the book of Enoch, the Dead Sea Scrolls, all the books that the churches kept out of the Bible because they did not want us to learn about who we are, what we are. We can be so much more. We can stop the wars. We can make it so people don't starve. That everybody has a home to live in. We can make a utopia with our abilities in this world. We can stop all of it. And for those who use their abilities to do bad things, we have the ability to stop them. Some people call it a war between the lights and the darks. Other ones call it a war between good and evil. That's what they call it, But we can change this world, all of us, using our abilities, learning how to use our abilities, finding our abilities. The problem is they keep us so off balance all the time. Work, 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 run, 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 pay, 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 that we have gotten into this worshiping of money so strongly that we aren't even being who we really are, what we really are. And they've got that church thing so drilled in our head, and we've been learning bits and bobs of stuff in churches that don't even tell the full story. And they keep cycling us back through it, and back through it, and back through it, and back through it. And it doesn't matter if you change churches, if you become Pentecostal or Baptist or Methodist or whatever, they still cycle you right back the same verses, same chapters over and over and over and over again. Seriously. You don't have to go to church to believe in God. And let me tell you how to get to God. Through the truth. And you say, what is the truth? The truth is the knowledge. That is the truth. They say knowledge is king, knowledge is power. Well, there you go. There's some power right there. And all of you can have it. All of us. We just have to learn. That's it. We have to learn the truth. That's it. So I'm here today to tell you the truth, the real truth. Okay, because this is the real truth. Seriously. You've heard of people that are healers? They really heal people? It's because it's part of their gift, their abilities. Just like an athletic. That's exactly what it is. Nothing more, nothing less, and it's not demonic. The only time it becomes demonic is when you use it for bad. If you kill somebody with it. You know? Seriously. It's all energy based, and those altars that you see, right? Burning candles and incense and, saying incantations. All it is helping the body to focus the energy. That's exactly what it is. All those things you see on the altars, they're just tools to help the person focus the energy. Like an atom. Atoms have energy. Everything is energy based. Let me try to explain to you the body. The body, the soul, and the spirit. That's a good one. Okay? I'm going to try my best to explain this so that make it easy for you guys to understand. It says in the Bible, for example, that the body cannot live without the soul. Does it not say that in the Bible? Well, the first thing that all of you should be saying is, why? Why can the body not live without the soul? How can the body not function without a soul? Well, it's exactly like this. The soul is like a battery. And you say, a battery? Yeah, it's a battery. And it's an ever-ready, never-ending battery. It's exactly what it is. It is full of energy. That's what it is. An energy that's never-ending. And you say, well, how do you know that? It's fairly simple. If you look at the body, let's start with the body first. Okay. The brain runs on electrical impulses. You have neurons and neurotransmitters, and they send electrical impulses to other parts of the brain, and then there's a chemical reaction started from that, and then this little message goes down to the organs, the heart, and all these different things, your lungs, your stomach, everything, and tells your body how to function. That's exactly how it works. And the heart pumps the blood, right? The heart is a muscle, okay? It does not have a brain. It's just a muscle. But the heart needs an electrical shock to cause that muscle to contract and to beat. So people who have pacemakers, right? Because their heart rhythm skips or gets out of sync. The reason they put pacemakers in them is because that pacemaker gives the heart a little shock and causes it to contract and reset it back to where it belongs in its rhythm that it needs to have in order to pump the blood in a certain sequence and a certain amount. So they can push all the blood through the body, up through the brain, through the lungs, and the veins, and the organs to keep everything going. That's how oxygen gets carried, food, numerous things are travel through the blood, right? That's how that works. And look it up for yourself. But that's how that works. So knowing this, you'd say to yourself, I'm starting to understand here. The body can't function unless it has an energy source, which is the soul. That's what the soul is. Okay. And then you've got the spirit. Now, let me tell you what the spirit is. The spirit is exactly this. It's the hard drive, honey. It is the one thing that collects all of the information. Everything from the day that we are conceived, every bit of knowledge that we learn, that spirit works in tandem with the brain. They connect together. They hook together. And that spirit also is your personality. And you say, what's a personality? Well, personality is exactly this. Personality comes some from our parents, but a lot of it comes from all the things that we have learned that makes us who and what we are. All of our strengths, our frailties, our fears, our confidences. That's all created from all the knowledge and experiences that we have on this earth, in this body, in your body, my body, all of our bodies, right? So the spirit and the soul, they're together. So when a person dies, then the soul and the spirit are released from the human body. And you say, well, how is that? Well, it's simple. Even scientists have proved that there's a soul. They haven't said anything about spirit, but they say the soul, right? And how does the spirit work with the brain? Well, let me kind of explain that. It's like this. In the brain, there are these protein things in the brain called microtubules. And in those microtubules, all the information, everything we learn is stored in those microtubules. All of our memories, everything is stored in those microtubules. But they're protein based. So when the heart stops pumping blood to the brain, and the brain's getting no oxygen and no sugar, those microtubules, which are made of protein, they break down. So all of the information that we have learned, it releases from those microtubules, which are housed with the spirit. So then that, along with the soul, floats out of the body. So you hear these stories of NDEs, people who have died and come back, right? And, they go up through, how many stories? I mean, there's so many. People have different experiences when they die, and then they come back. Science would like to say that we're delusional or whatever, but I happen to know that, for example, my mother died for 10 minutes. She was dead, and her CAT scan showed that she was brain dead. They told me that at the hospital. 2 CAT scans. But yet, when she came back, and I will explain to you how she came back and what transpired to her coming back, so that you may understand about gifts and abilities, because I was involved in that one, So that's how that works. So the spirit and the brain connect together, and all the information, personality, everything's housed in those microtubules. And then when the heart stops and the brain stops functioning, the microtubule proteins release, and all the knowledge leaves with the soul. And they float up through the air, up through the ceiling, up into the sky. And then, as you've heard from many people discussing NDEs, which are near-death experiences, people who've died and come back, they go through a tunnel. How many times have you heard there's a light at the end of the tunnel? How many times have you watched videos where people have gone round and round, gone through the tunnel, light at the end of the tunnel, they land on the other side? The veil releases. There's a veil between our world and the invisible world. And that's what the priest will tell you. That's what it's called, right? And there are portals, okay? If you read the book of Enoch, for example, and we know that Enoch found favor with God, and God didn't even make Enoch die. His body didn't die. God just took him. He said, let's skip this part. Come on up. You know what I mean? And he took him. But if you read the book of Enoch, right, and, he was a favorite of God's, but yet the churches and the wealthy people in the towns back then would not allow the book of Enoch in the Bible. And they claim, to this very day, there's a lot of controversy, they claim that Enoch didn't write that book. But yet there's an awful lot of information about portals, about heaven, about Tartarus, which is hell, and everything else in there. And it is authenticated by archaeologists and, scholars and a vast amount of people, right? So anyway, so knowing all this kind of stuff, right? Now you understand about the body, the mind, or the body, the spirit, and the soul. Take, for example, ghosts. How many stories have you heard about ghosts? And what can ghosts do to get people's attention? They have unfinished business, so they don't travel through the wormhole, through the portal. Okay? Because they're trapped on the earth. Their soul and their spirit still trapped, and they don't go towards the light. They don't go towards the tunnel because they've been murdered, raped. They've done something bad in their life, and they're scared. They're afraid they're going to go